for the very few people watching this that may not be familiar with who you are, can you give a little backstory on who you are, and then we'll kind of go into your background in music?
Sure, absolutely. You know, I grew up in South Georgia in a small town called Tifton. My father was a Southern gospel musician. I don't know if you're very familiar with Southern gospel, but it's like largely quartet based, especially in like the guy world, right? So I grew up in Southern gospel quartet harmony. My father taught me to harmonize. I was always singing, and my earliest memories are me being on stage as a child singing Southern gospel music at like 3 or 4 years old. You know, I had this one song I'd come out and sing called Saved by Grace. And yeah, man, so I just always, and I remember in that moment, one day, you know, driving down the road with my dad, you know, and he was playing something on the radio, and I was probably like 5 years old. Another one of my first memories. I remember like hearing the song and like looking out the window, going to my grandma's house and turning to my dad and be like, I want to do this when I grow up. And he was like, okay. And I was like, cool. And it was kind of all she wrote from there on, man. Like I got into high school and I thought, and people were like, you got to have something to fall back on, you know? And I just never believed it. I thought maybe I'll be a veterinarian, or maybe I'll be, you know, like a philosophy major or something. But I just was a singer, man. I sang all through school. I got into high school. I got into music theater because that was like the place you could sing, right? And then I wound up going to college for music theater and had an awesome experience there. Learned a lot. Took some formal voice lessons for about a year in high school, and then more so in college. And then after college, man, I just started working as a singer and loving it. You know, I've always written music as well. And I kind of started that in college with a buddy of mine who is a really great songwriter and kind of taught me how to write. And yeah, so just since then, man, I've just been working. I worked in cruise ships. I worked in theme parks. You know, I've worked in all kinds of private and personal stuff. I've put together so many quartets and a cappella groups over the years. And then I was working on a cruise ship when I actually met Home Free. They came on as guest entertainers. I was a production entertainer on the ship. It was one of the most fun times of my life, honestly. I had my own cabin. I got to see the world. I saw everything that touches the Baltic Sea, everything that touches the Mediterranean Sea. I got to go to the Middle East for 3 months and have like 2 overnights for 10 weeks. So like I got to see so much of the world, the pyramids, you know, Venice, Iceland. I mean, so many amazing things. And I also spent a few months in the Caribbean, which was also great because I was able to get my family on board for basically nothing. So that was cool. It was all such a, you know, great experience. Learned a lot of stuff. And then I met Home Free and was like, oh, I want to sing with you guys. And we all got pretty tore up at the bar together that night. And they were like, well, he's getting ready to retire. We can't really talk about it yet, but okay. And I was like, awesome. And so 6 months after that contract, they called me up and were like, hey, do you want to come and sub in for a week? I think this would have been 2012 and in like October. And I sang with them for a week in their, you know, just touring all over the Midwest and for, you know, fairs, festivals, and like subscription concert series is what they call them. And so, yeah, man, I did that for a week, had such a great time. Their high tenor, an original founding member of the band, retired 2 months after that Christmas tour. And that January of 2013, I started full time with Home Free. And then we auditioned for the Sing Off, and then we won. And I mean, it's just been like full speed ahead ever since, you know?